Blessings from Lord himself. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're going to start the mantra number 10 from Śrī Īśopaniṣad. We will first recite the shloka, then we'll go to the meaning and the proper question of Prabhupada. So we will go word by word. Anyat Evahur Vidyaya Anyat Ahur Avidyaya. So the first line and the second line, there is a difference. There is a vidya and avidya. Iti shushruma dhirana ye nas sat vichachakshare. Now we recite together. Anya devahur vidyaya Anya devahur vidyaya Iti sushuma dhirana ye nas sat vichachakshare. Anya devahur vidyaya. Anya devahur vidyaya. Anya devahur avidyaya. Anya devahur avidyaya. Iti sushrumadhirana. Iti sushrumadhirana. Ye nastat vichachakshire. Ye nastat vichachakshire. Anybody wants to recite?
Anya devahur vidyaya.
Anya devahur vidyaya. Anya devahur avidyaya. Iti sushrumadhirana. Ye nastat vichachakshire.
Anya devahur vidyaya.
Anya devahur vidyaya.
Anya devahur avidyaya.
Anya devahur avidyaya.
Iti sushrumadhirana.
Iti sushrumadhirana.
Ye nastat vichachakshire.
Ye nastat vichachakshire.
Anybody else wants to recite? It's very auspicious to recite mantras from Vedas and scriptures. So just try, don't feel shy, even if you don't pronounce it properly, but just give it a try.
Anya devahur vidyaya.
Anya devahur vidyaya.
Anya devahur avidyaya.
Anya devahur avidyaya.
Iti sushrumadhirana.
Iti sushrumadhirana.
Ye nastat vichachakshire.
Ye nastat vichachakshire.
So these shlokas in Sanskrit are made in a very precise meter, and it is said scientifically it stimulates your brain cells. So it's very nice to pronounce them and pronounce them loudly. So take opportunity whenever arises to recite them. So we'll go word by word meaning, synonyms. Anya, different. Eva, certainly. Ahu, said. Vidyaya, by culture of knowledge. Anya, different. Ahu, said. Avidyaya, by culture of nescience. Iti, thus. Sushruma, I heard. Dhirana, from the sober. Ye, who, na, to, us, tat, that, vichachakshire, explain. So the wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience. So this is shloka given in a very precise nutshell, 2 sentences. But there is a huge meaning behind it, and without the help of the acharyas, it's very difficult for anybody to understand. And that acharya also has to be bona fide, as Srila Prabhupada always keeps mentioning, and wants us to be careful from the Ved Vratas and the Maya Aprita Ganas, as we learned in the previous verses. And this verse is actually in continuation with the verse number 9, where we learned that little knowledge is dangerous than no knowledge. That was the essence of the previous shloka. So now, this shloka is telling that one result is obtained from the knowledge, the real knowledge. And then a different result is obtained from knowledge which is not modified, avidya. It doesn't mean that there is absence of knowledge, but it's not the proper knowledge. So, Prabhupada quotes the chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, verse number 8 to 12, and to emphasize what is the real culture of knowledge. Like I just said, that one result is obtained from the vidya, the bona fide knowledge, and other result is obtained from avidya. So what is avidya and what is vidya is explained by the Lord Himself in Bhagavad Gita. So these are the 17 or 18 points that are mentioned in those shlokas from 8 to 12 in chapter 13. And if you can all read it, we should all read it together, because we really need to imbibe these points, just like the 10 offenses we read together. We're going to read this, points together to know what the real knowledge is. So by real knowledge, one should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. One should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. One should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, by the thoughts of his mind, or by his words. One should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others. One should learn to avoid duplicity in his dealings with others. One should search out a bona fide spiritual master who can lead him gradually to the stage of spiritual realization. And one must submit himself to such a spiritual master, render him service and ask relevant questions. In order to approach the platform of self-realization, one must follow the regulatory principles enjoined in the Vedic structure. So, these regulatory principles are coming from the scriptures. They are not concoction by anybody on their own. It's actually coming from Lord Himself. And also, if we see point number 3, many people mention that, I don't need to be Kṛṣṇa conscious because I'm a very good human being, I don't cause any harm to anybody, I don't cheat anybody, and I just do my work. So I don't need to be Kṛṣṇa conscious. But Kṛṣṇa has clearly explained that's not enough. That's just one of the points. Point number 3 in a list of other things that one is supposed to do to be really successful in life. So point number 8, one must be fixed in the canons of the Vedic scripture. One should completely refrain from practices which are detrimental to the interest of self-realization. One should not accept more than it requires for the maintenance of the body. Īśopaniṣad principle from the shloka 2. One should not falsely identify himself with the gross material body, nor should one consider those who are related to his body to be his own. One should always remember that as long as he has a material body, he must face the miseries of repeated birth, old age, disease, and death. There is no use in making plans to get rid of these miseries of the material body. The best course is to find out the means by which one may regain his spiritual identity. One should not be attached to more than the necessities of life required for spiritual advancement. One should not be more attached to wife, children, and home than the revealed scriptures ordain. One should not be happy or distressed over desirables and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just feelings of the mind. One should become an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, and serve Him with rapt attention. One should develop a liking for residence in a spiritual place with a calm, quiet atmosphere favorable for spiritual culture. And one should avoid congested places where non-devotees congregate. One should become a scientist or philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge, recognizing that spiritual knowledge is permanent, whereas material knowledge ends in the depths of the body. These 18 items combine to form a gradual process of real knowledge and prayer. So these points are very important and we should meditate upon them. And actually each point requires one lecture because there's a lot of things that are said in these things. And one should not be taken away by one should not be more attached to wife, children, and home. So what does it mean? Should we, leave our wife, children, and home, or what should we do? That's not the meaning of this, purport or this shloka. It means you should not be overly attached. And the term uses responsible detachment. That you have to perform all your duties towards your family and even the society, and just give up everything and say, I'm not attached, so I'm going to take care of things. Similarly, there are a lot of points in this that's mentioned that gives clear understanding with the help of a spiritual master. So Prabhupada says, except for these, all other methods of education are considered to be in the category of nescience. So it's not that the absence of any education is nescience. Nescience is when the things are not centered around Krishna. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is the father of actually Saraswati Thakur, maintained that all forms of material knowledge are very external features of the illusory energy of the Lord. That's the Maya Shakti. And by cultivating them, one becomes no better than an ass. So this same principle is found here in Īśopaniṣad. By advancement of material knowledge, modern man is simply being converted into an ass. Some materialistic politicians and spiritual guys, these guys describe the present system of civilization as satanic, but unfortunately they do not care about the culture of real knowledge, as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Thus they cannot change the satanic situation. So there are many people, politicians who say, things are not right, we'll do this, we'll change this. Wherever there is election, you hear so many promises. But again, the same cycle goes out. The new politician comes, the new leader comes. He tries to do more things, but they are all material. They are not spiritual or towards, perfecting our life in Krishna consciousness. So the word stays the same. More it changes, more it remains the same. So in the modern society, even Prabhupada gives example of young boys who think they are self-sufficient and pays no respect to elderly men. Therefore, Śrī Īśopaniṣad very strongly warns that the culture of nescience is different from that of knowledge. So if a person is in real knowledge, they will respect their elders, they will respect the rule of the law, they will respect the culture in the society, which usually doesn't happen in the modern education. The universities are, so to speak, centers of nescience because they are scientists who are busy discovering lethal weapons. So all the development is going towards sense enjoyment and lethal weapons, making more and more advanced weapons, aeroplanes and rockets and bombs. So university students today are not given instructions in the regulative principles of brahmacharya, nor do they have any faith in any scriptural injunctions. Religious principles are taught for the sake of name. So there, in every college, when you go to graduate college, there is a course called religious studies, and everybody, I think almost everybody takes that course. You learn about religions, but they don't give you the real knowledge. They just give you some idea about, okay, this religion is this and this religion is that. They do this, they follow that. And there is animosity not only in social and political fields, but in the field of religion as well. So it causes more animosities and contempt for the other religions. Although it's meant for better understanding and having goodwill among different religions, but it doesn't fulfill that function. The other thing is nationalism. This country, my country, your country, friendly countries, enemy countries. So it has developed in different parts of the world, which is, it's 3 centuries old. Before that, there were no concept of countries. There was a pact, I don't remember that pact, Helsinki Pact or something, where they, started making countries and the borders, and then they started having, border patrols and armed forces to separate people from moving around from one place to the other. So no one considers that this tiny earth is just a lump of matter floating in immeasurable space along with many other lumps. So in comparison to the vastness of space, these material lumps, called planets, are like dust particles in the air. If you have seen sometimes with the sun rays coming into the room and you look, you can see small dust particles floating in the air. And so this is the comparison Prabhupada is giving of all the planets, including our planet Earth. Because God has kindly made these lumps of matter complete in themselves, as we learned in the invocation prayer, Om Purnada Purnada. Everything is perfect, everything is complete. Whatever Lord makes is complete in itself. So they are perfectly equipped with all necessities for floating in space. So nicely they are following a specific route, and they are circulating in this space so perfectly that it's mind-boggling. The drivers of our spaceships, people, space astronauts who go to space, may be very proud of their achievements. They have gone to the moon and now they are planning to go to Mars. But they do not consider the supreme driver of these greater, more gigantic spaceships called planets. They don't think who created these big planets and who created these, solar system and other systems, and how perfectly they are running in harmony and synchrony. So this is the picture representation of the dust particles. So that arrow where is pointing out your here is the planet Earth, and this is the Milky Way galaxy that we are part of. So you can see the planet Earth is like a dust particle, and you can imagine yourself on this planet. We look at Staphylococcus germs under microscope, they're so tiny. I think this is even tinier. We will use an electron microscope to look at the virus particles, and they're so small. So we are like that in this space. We're like nothing. It's exactly, as Prabhupada said, we should be like the dust on the feet of the Supreme Lord. So this is just to give us, a reality check that the creation of the Lord is so big, and we always have to keep that perspective in mind. So there are innumerable suns and innumerable planetary systems. As infinitesimal part and parcels of the Supreme Lord, we small creatures are trying to dominate these unlimited planets. So now here comes our concept of the Supreme Lord. When we look at Kṛṣṇa, we think he's like another human being, but no. This is the real form of the Lord in his splendor. It is said that like his soul is the knower or the fielder of this field called body, because from the soul comes the consciousness, and the soul knows the whole body, which is called the Kshetra, and the soul is called the Kshetragya. Similarly, this whole creation is the Kshetra for the Supreme Lord, and Supreme Lord is the Kshetragya, the fielder or the knower of the field. So look at that dimension, and now we have to try to understand our concept of Ishvara. So, since we don't understand all this, we take repeated birth and death and are generally frustrated by old age and disease. We suffer all this, but we don't realize why this is happening and how to get rid of this. Thanks to the culture of nations, befooled men have created their own nations within these planets in order to grab sense enjoyment more effectively for these few years. Such foolish people drop various plans to render national demarcations perfectly, a task that is totally impossible. So Prabhupada is forcing the wall coming on the Mexico border, trying to keep people away. So he thinks that all this is done because people don't want to share their wealth with other people, so want to keep other people out, and that's why these national boundaries are created. And this is not for Kṛṣṇa consciousness or God realization. It's for material benefits. And this is in the mode of nations or avidya. Yet for this purpose, each and every nation has become a source of anxiety for others. We have North Korea, we have Syria, we have Islamic State. They are out to kill each other and destroy each other or capture and enslave. More than 50% of a nation's energy is devoted to defense measures and thus spoiled. No one cares for the cultivation of real knowledge, yet people are falsely taught of being advanced in both material and spiritual knowledge. So people think, no, I know who God is, who Kṛṣṇa is, and I do everything right, and I don't bother anybody, and I just watch TV and remain happy. But that's not a real purpose of life. So Śrī Īśopaniṣad warns us of this faulty type of education, and the Bhagavad Gita gives instructions as to the development of real knowledge. So Kṛṣṇa himself is given us real knowledge in Bhagavad Gita, and then we extrapolate from there and go to Bhagavatam to get more knowledge and also get vairagya or the detachment that was mentioned in those 82 points. So this mantra states that the instructions of Vidya, the knowledge, must be acquired from a Vira. So this word dhira also comes in the nectar instruction in the first verse. A dhira is one who is not disturbed by material illusion. And this state is not easily attained. So dhira is a very important term. No one can be undisturbed unless he is perfectly spiritual. Realize at which time one neither anchors nor laments for anything. He is the Uttama Adhikari. A dhira realizes that the material body and mind he has acquired by chance through material association are but foreign elements. Therefore, he simply makes the best use of a bad bargain. How he makes the best use of bad bargain? By becoming Kṛṣṇa conscious, by chanting the holy names, by reading the scriptures and associating with the devotees. Very simple process laid out by our Acharya. So now here I give the example of, we all know the guru of both Pandavas and Kauravas was Dronacharya. He trained them, he gave them instruction, gave them education, and trained them in warfare because they were all Kshatriyas. And his favorite pupil or Shishya or the student was Arjuna. So this is Dronacharya teaching Arjuna the archery, and he was the best student. He could hit a bird in the eye sitting in a tree. And when Dronacharya asked him, he asked everybody. So when he asked Arjuna, what do you see? Do you see the bird? No. Do you see the tree? He says no. He said, do you see the bird? He says no. Then he asked him, what do you see? He says, I see the eye. He was such sharply focused that when the teacher said to hit the eye, he would hit just eye, he would not see anything else. He was just seeing the eye of the bird, and he could not see anything else. So he was the most advanced student, and he got the maximum benefit from Dronacharya. And he got a lot of material benefits from that knowledge, including the hand of Draupadi. So when the slumber was going on, Draupadi, the Drupad Maharaj, who is the father of Draupadi, had a slumber where there was a competition. So there was a fish going in a circle on the ceiling, and the fish had an eye. So one had to look in the reflection of that fish in a pail of water on the ground, and looking at the water had to hit the eye of that fish which is turning around in the ceiling. So nobody could do it except Arjuna. Why? Because he had the knowledge from Dronacharya. But was it this knowledge Vidya according to the Bhagavad Gita? Was it? It wasn't. Why was it not? Because when Arjuna was confronted in the Kurukshetra, he went cold turkey. He dropped his bow and arrow, and he was totally devastated. And he told Kṛṣṇa he cannot fight. He could not lift his bow. He could not lift his body. Yes.
So what is wrong with being a little bit emotional towards your family member, even if they have been wrong to you?
There is no harm in being emotional. You could be nice, but when you are confronted to perform your duty, you have to perform your duty. Like you study for 2 semesters, 3 semesters, and when you have to go for exam and you drop your pen and you say I cannot write, what's the use of that? Studying and doing that. I mean, this is a crude example, but similar to that, that's happened.
I completely understand. It's just that sometimes I have these thoughts. Sometimes it makes sense, but sometimes all of a sudden it does not. So I just wondered why.
Yeah, so we'll discuss on that sometime. We'll sit down. But to understand that, you have to go to the full context. Don't try to catch the bull by the horn. You have to know the whole context. What happened from the childhood between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and what happened, and everything was exhausted when Kṛṣṇa went to resolve the issue. So there's a lot of things behind it. So if you go through that, and then when two huge armies They are not ordinary, 4 or 5 people gathered to fight. Huge armies. 11 Akshonis on one side and 18 Akshonis on the other side. It's a huge setup. And there you go cold-turning. They were ready to kill them. So we'll go to that discussion some other time. So the topic here is, so that knowledge did not help Arjuna in this Kurukshetra. So then he got the real knowledge from Lord Śrī Krishna himself. So in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the battle scene is described, and then Arjuna's predicament is described. He sees all the relatives and the friends and the teachers and everybody, and he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't want to kill, so he gives all the reasons. And then he's confused. So in second chapter, verse number 7, then he takes a shelter. Till now, Krishna and Arjuna were friends. They are described as Sakhya. And they are also cousins. So Kunti was actually Bhua, father's sister of Krishna.
Vastes.
So they were cousins and they were friends. But till then the relationship was that. But at this, in chapter 2, verse 7, then Arjuna says, Shishyayam Shaki Tvam Prapannam. I take your shelter and I take you as a teacher and I am your Shishya, I am your student. Please guide me through this predicament. And then Krishna gives the knowledge of Gita Upadesh. And that is the real knowledge. And then when he gets the real knowledge, then he picks up his Gandhi and he fights and they become victorious. So this is the little example or comparison I wanted to give. The material knowledge versus the spiritual knowledge. And by doing this, by following Arjuna's instructions, Krishna perfected the life. Not only he won in the war, he perfected his own life. So the material body and mind are bad bargains for the spiritual living entity. So we should not be attached to our body and listen to our mind. And that's instruction throughout in the Bhagavad Gita. The first part of the Bhagavad Gita talks about the soul and the body. The living entity has actual functions in the living spiritual world, but this material world is dead. This material world is all dead matter. Whatever you see around is all dead matter. Only the living entities make this material world a living place because of the spiritual spark that is present in the living entities. Actually, it is the Dhiras have come to know all these facts by hearing them from superior authorities and have realized this knowledge by following the Vedic principles. So, and here is some depiction of the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky, there are so many Vaikuntha planets, and in each Vaikuntha planet, the Lord is there in his 4-armed form, in the Vishnu form, and the topmost planet is in Krishna Lok or Golok Vrindavan, where Lord and Radharani are personally present, and everything in the spiritual world is living. There is no dead matter there. Not only the trees, the animals, the cows, the swans, the peacock, even the stones, even the river, even the pond, they are all living entities. And everything is self-effulgent. You don't need a sun or a moon. Everything is self-effulgent. So light is everywhere. And there is peace, tranquility, enjoyment. They say every step is a dance and every word is a song. And that is the spiritual planet. And the real knowledge leads us to this spiritual sky and helps us leave this material world, get out of the cycle of birth, death, old age and disease, and be eternally happy. So that is the purport of this shloka, number 10 from Īśopaniṣad. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Any questions, comments? I know
So
we
I
discussed
just want to
something.
say one thing, the third point which you mentioned about the source of anxiety, the third point which you were saying that we should be the source of anxiety. Actually, I was reading somewhere, Prabhupada ji very beautifully mentioned when you were just saying this point, that point came to my mind. Prabhupada ji mentioned somewhere that when we say non-violence, it doesn't mean only not killing animals or not eating. When we say okay, we are following Iskcon and all other things, but other people also they say we are vegetarian, so we don't do violence, we don't hit anybody, we don't do anybody. But Prabhupada specifically mentioned that if you are a source of anxiety to anybody, be it any living creature, be it an animal or a living being, by any of your action, that also comes under violence. So you cannot claim yourself to be non-violent unless and until you are not at that platform where you are not a source of anxiety for other people.
Yeah, very good. Thank
Hare
you.
Bol.
Hare Bol, yes. And even vegetarians, we eat vegetables and plant, they are also living beings. So we cut them and we eat them. So unless you offer the vegetarian food to the Lord, you still incur sin. It's given in Bhagavad Gita. So whatever you eat, you incur sin, even though you may be vegetarian, because you are killing the vegetation. They are also living entities. So we have to offer to Kṛṣṇa, and then it becomes prasadam, and then it's sin-free.